Well, I'm only going to disagree on one point with you,
Go
Joe.
ahead, please.
One point. You're right. This is an easy schedule. Basically, all the good teams, almost all the good teams, you play on the road. Couple, Arizona. You mentioned Indy. The second Dallas game, because of the spot, I do not like it all. I do not like it at all. Third of third consecutive road games, Christmas Eve in Dallas, Arlington to be specific. I do not like that spot. That's it. That's the only thing I look at on this schedule. Even the 3-game road, and I don't like to call them trips because they're not really trips in the NFL. Sometimes you stay out in the West Coast.
Appreciate you streaming on in with us here on Birds 365. He's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. You got a like button there, Johnny Mac? Can you hit like? Do they even count our likes, or are we officially eliminated from doing so?
That's not fair, so I don't do it. I do like the show, though, Jody. But yeah, I can like the show.
Well, then I think you and I both need to smash that like button a little bit more often. We are asking you guys, you Birds fans, getting ready for an upcoming season. You check us out on the mornings. You're getting ready for the year. Well, as long as you're streaming in, you might as well hit that like button. We're not charging anything for it, but it helps with our algorithm and the whole YouTube thing. I don't understand. I'm sorry. I appreciate the fact that there is a way that people can track how much they do.
You
or
like
don't
the show? It's the show for the hardcore Eagles fan. I always say, if you like the show, like it, share it, subscribe it, and you will continue to see the show. So you'll help the show. So do it. It's free.
Right. Doesn't cost you a damn penny. So, and you could lend a helping hand to your buddies, Mac and Mac. And here's the reason why you should like the show today. Johnny Mac, I was checking this out over the weekend, and I didn't realize, when does the Eagles schedule come out? April?
They have the whole back to May. Yeah.
They push it back to May this year. Usually it's April. Now they've got May. But it does always make me smile and laugh that they have now turned it into an entire day of programming on the NFL Network. The big reveal.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And the amount of conversation that can be struck by the fact that a schedule came out. Again, turning back the clock, and this is something that has not only changed for the better, they've taken it to an outrageous level, but there used to be like a release on the Associated Press. That's how you found out each team's schedule.
Yeah.
There wasn't this big reveal and hours of network television and websites.
Well, everything's like that, Jody.
Oh, makes me laugh.
Everything is like that in the NFL now. And you're right. I mean, you can go back to the NFL draft when it was over the weekend in 2 days and it was 12 rounds. And, at the end, nobody knew what was going on. You'd wait for the newspaper the next day and see, hey, who was the 11th round pick? And nobody cared. And yeah, it's amazing. But the schedule release has always amazed me even more because, you're only talking about logistics. You're talking about dates and times. You already knew who your favorite team was playing. So basically, you're only putting dates to – and for people that travel, it's a big deal because you need that information. But for the average fan that's just going to sit and watch on television, it's amazing how excited they get over that schedule release.
And here's what I was attempting to get to, and I'm sorry I got sidetracked just talking about the magnitude of the schedule release. It makes me laugh. I went back and re-looked at the Eagles schedule because there are a couple of things each and every single year that I look at that are my beliefs from watching 40 plus years of the NFL and watching teams and how they comp to each other. This year, the Eagles schedule, they play, of course, their 6 in-division games. I right now think they have a comparable roster to the Dallas Cowboys, maybe even slightly better. I like the way you stated, Johnny Mac, from 2 to 53. Oh, the Eagles are better. Dak Prescott compared to Jalen Hurts, does that balance the scale enough? We'll find out. But the Cowboys and Eagles, I think, are a cut above the Commanders and the Giants in the division. So if you believe that the Cowboys and the Eagles are very comparable roster-wise, I would always rather play that team home first before playing them on the road. If you got to play them twice in division, there's a team out there that you think you're either slightly better than or even with, give me the home game first. The Eagles have the home game first. They have get Dallas early home, week 6, and then later in the season in Dallas. So that could have gone either way. You never know which way that's going to go when the schedule comes out. I think it went the favorable way for the Eagles. They get the Cowboys home first. If you think you're better than the other team that you've got to play twice in the season, I want to play on the road first. I want the first game to be on the road and then get my home game second because I win that road game because I'm just better than them. And then we're going to roll in the later half of the season. They play at Washington and at New York, both teams on the road first, and then get them at home later. I think that's the better of the two scenarios. So the entire division, the 6 games, I think, happen to roll out schedule-wise advantageously for the Eagles, which is very good. They played the NFC North this year, correct? The Packers.
Yes, which is good because it's a bad division.
Right. Who would you consider the top 2 teams in the NFC North as of right now, John?
Green Bay and Minnesota.
Where did the Eagles play those 2 teams?
Both at Lincoln Financial Field.
That's a good thing. If
Both
you're playing the
tougher
two teams, you want those 2 teams at home. The other 2 teams, sorry, Lions fans, sorry, Bear fans, you'd rather get them on the road because you just think you have a better roster and you can overcome home field advantage by those 2 teams. So that division played well for the Eagles this year. In the AFC, they're playing the NFC South. This is the only one that didn't work out perfectly, but the most important thing of it, I think, did. Who's the best team in the AFC South, Johnny Mac?
I still think it's Tennessee, but some people would say Indianapolis, but I would say Tennessee.
As would I. Do they have to go to Tennessee this year?
No, they are coming to Lincoln Financial Field.
That would be correct. Lincoln Financial Field is where they get the toughest team. Would I like to get the Colts at home as well? If you got, like in the NFC North, we got the 2 best teams both coming in. I would agree with you. Tennessee and the Colts are the 2 best teams. Yeah, I would like to see. Plus, well, maybe not. What happens if they were coming here and Nick Foles came into the game after seeing his statue outside and comes in when Matt Ryan goes down in the first quarter and does the whole off the bench thing to the Eagles rather than
I think the Eagles would be happy if they got to play Nick Foles wherever.
Do you think they'd be okay with that, huh?
Yes.
All right. That's the only game that didn't go. If you wanted the perfect schedule laid out, and I've laid it out for you, and I think it's gone perfectly through the first 10 games that I mentioned, and then we go to the NFC.
Well, I'm only going to disagree on one point with you, Jay.
Go ahead, please.
1 point. You're right. This is an easy schedule. Basically, almost all the good teams you play on the road. Couple, at Arizona, you mentioned Indy. The second Dallas game, because of the spot, I do not like it all. I do not like it at all. Third consecutive road games, Christmas Eve in Dallas, Arlington, to be specific. I do not like that spot. That's it. That's the only thing I look at on this schedule. Even the 3-game road, and I don't like to call them trips because they're not really trips in the NFL. Sometimes you stay out in the West Coast. But a 3-game road swing, which is really difficult. It's the Giants and the Bears who are terrible. And you could argue who's better. I don't know. 6 pence, half dozen, whatever. But at Dallas on December 24th as the 3rd consecutive road game, I do not like that spot. That is a very, very difficult spot.
That is very fair from you. Maybe I got to take my Eagle color glasses off, but I don't know why. I'm just feeling Merry Christmas, Philadelphia, a re-air of the Jeff Garcia line as Jalen Hurts comes off the field that day. Yeah. All right. Maybe I'm being a homer and maybe I'm just trying to think it into happening. I'm sounding like Lonzo Ball here. We shall see. But that's a good point. If you're going to be 3 straight road games, that last one is the toughest. And sure enough, it'll probably be the biggest game of the entire year for the Eagles. We'll see if where they and the Cowboys sit standing wise when they get there. Here's the let me finish off the overall schedule because we got 14 games deep. And I looked at this, I said, no, I'd probably prefer it the other way around. But then I thought about it even more. I said, no, this might be okay. They play 2 games against NFC opponents that are determined by where they finished in the standings. Who were the teams that finished in the other 2 divisions, not the division that they're playing en masse, but the other 2 teams that finished in the same slot that they did. And that would be second place, which would include the Saints and the Cardinals. Again, which of the 2 teams do you think are going to be better? And you'd rather get the better of the 2 teams at home? Well, even though I like the Saints more coming into the season, you like the Saints, I have to give the Cardinals the nod because they were the better team last year and they got their quarterback signed. But here's the good news about that. If you're going to play Arizona this year and you're going to play them either at home or on the road, you want to play them at the start of the season because DeAndre Hopkins, as of right now, is suspended for the first 6 games of the year. Now, that hasn't been completely adjudicated, and there's speculation that he's going to appeal and that they may decrease the amount of – if they only decrease it from 6 to 5, well, then the 5th game of the season is Eagles at the Cardinals. So that means Hopkins would still be out of the lineup. That's a damn big player who will not be playing for the Cardinals. As of right now, he will not be playing against the Eagles this year. We'll see if it changes between now and the time when that game rolls around. But that's a major plus for the Eagles, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's a really good player, obviously. Really explosive offense, especially out there. So that will help the Eagles. That will be the first game, though, that, if you're going to ask me, I gave you the toughest spot by far. If you're going to force me to pick the second toughest spot, it would be at Arizona in week 5 for this particular reason. It's the first time they're going to be underdogs, number one. It's the first time where people are going to think they're not the best team on the field. Now, I don't know. Minnesota, I don't know what they're going to be. They could be really good. They could be really bad, literally. I mean, it's rare where you have a team that could go and directly diverge it. So maybe they're a little bit better than people are going to expect. But week 2, nobody's going to know that anyway. But week 5, after you have Washington, Jacksonville, you have Detroit, as you mentioned, week 1. That's the first step up in competition to a team that's a legitimate playoff contender, playoff threat on the road. That's probably kind of that would be a logical loss to me. And it would be one where we went down wins and losses. And that's one where I would say that's a logical loss.
All right. Here's, man, I got the Eagle colored glasses on big time today. You just said that the 4 previous games prior to the Eagles having to go in Arizona, take on the Cardinals, chances are they're going to be favored 4 for 4. And if you're favored, you should win the game. And I'm not predicting 4-0, but 4-0 is a possibility for this team if they just win the games they're supposed to win. Check out the Cardinals' first 4 games. Home against the Chiefs, at Vegas and the Raiders, home against the Rams, and at Carolina.
That's tough.
I think they're underdog in their first 3 games.
Yeah.
They'll be an underdog even though they're home against Kansas City. At Vegas, Vegas won 10 games last year too, so I think they'll be an underdog there. And then they got the world champion Rams in game number 3. If you go by underdog, you win your underdog game, you lose your underdog games, you win your favorite games. Cards are going to be 1-3. Eagles are going to be either 3-1 or 4-0.
Yeah, who knows? They might be
the
favored.
Eagles are an underdog when they go to Carolina.
Yeah, they might be favored if it shakes out that way. But you can also turn it if you want to turn it as the Cardinals will be desperate at that point.
Good point.
Now maybe it goes in a negative direction. Maybe the snowball starts going downhill. But you can also have the wounded animal. If they're desperate, they might come out like gangbusters. So you could spin that with some Eagles colored glasses and vice versa.
You know what would determine that for me, Johnny Mac? Can they buy into the wounded animal? What was us? Let's rally as a group. Let's get this thing done together. The coach. Your
Yeah, I
thoughts
don't
on this?
like the coach.
Yeah, I know you.
That.
I know you don't. That's why I'm going down that road here. For that to happen, for that to work, the coach has to be the guy to pull that squad together and rally the troops. You got faith that the Cardinal coach can do that?
No. To me, it would be just a talent perspective. Either the players, do it on their own, and that's why I can go in a very negative direction. But no, I'm not a Cliff Kingsbury fan. Who put Cliff Kingsbury as like the fourth best coach in football? There was one of those lists. I forget.
Yes. Had him ranked unbelievably high this year. Who was that?
Yeah.
It wasn't Pro Football Focus, was it?
I don't know. But whoever it is, I'll try to look it up, deserves ridicule and scorn. That is a bad football coach. Bad NFL football coach. I hate, he knows more about football than me. So I hope people understand criticism comes at the NFL level.
I'm not quite as down on him as you are, but I'm not a big fan either. I think he's got a couple of strong suits, and then I think he's got a couple of shortcomings too that people overlook just because he had the kind of success that he did at the collegiate level. Short-term success. Wasn't like
very short-term. He didn't even have great success at the collegiate level. It was one of the weirdest hires really ever.
All right. One more quickie.
Tone, by the way, says it was Pro Football Focus.
Yeah, I thought that's why I thought it was. Which surprised
number 4 overall. Number 4 overall. You got guys going in the Hall of Fame, right? You got Bill Belichick. You got Andy Reid. You got Mike Tomlin. You got Pete Carroll. Those are 4 Hall of Fame coaches right there. Right there.
And
right off the top of my head.
And your boy Shanahan, who you think can compete with any of them.
I love Kyle.
I know you do.
Kyle.
All right, last thing before we punch up our next guest, and that's going to be Zach Berman of The Athletic, who's going to jump aboard with us. Report out of ESPN. You're a Jeremy Fowler guy. You think he does a good job inside the NFL?
Good job.
As do I. I think Fowler's good. He reported over the weekend that he thinks it's highly unlikely that Jesse Bates will be traded, that his sources tell him that the Bengals have no desire to trade Bates, have not shopped Bates, are not planning on shopping Bates. The fact that they threw the franchise tag on him, he has refused to sign it. He hasn't shown up for any of their offseason work. We'll find out this week when the Bengals open up camp whether he's going to show. If he doesn't show, there's anything the Bengals can do about it, because he's not truly under contract.
No.
So you can't fine him. You can't take chunks out of his check because there's no check to be taken chunks out of because he's not under contract yet. He has to sign the franchise tag first. So if he wants, he can sit out and not do anything and not show up at camp. And then 2 days before the season starts, he can come in and say, all right, I'll sign now. And there's nothing the Bengals can do about it, but there's also nothing they can do about potentially trading him to another team and giving that team a chance to redo his contract. His contract is locked in for this year.
Yeah, and by the way, they can't redo his contract.
Right.
Team, yeah. That's one of the complications to trading for him as well. But obviously, you can negotiate, Jody. In other words, if the Eagles wanted to trade it for, he wants to be here. He just signed his franchise tender. They'd agree, and they'd sign it and then trade it to the Eagles, which, by the way, the Eagles don't even have the space to fit that under their cap right now. They would have to send some players back, and the Bengals would want draft picks. Kind of explained all this stuff before. Very unlikely to happen. You never say never with Howie. If he thinks they're that close to being a Super Bowl champ, he can make some moves and he can do some things and fit them under the cap. But it's very unlikely because, one, Cincinnati wants him.
Right.
And that's probably the end game, is he sits out camp, gets extra few weeks of vacation, which doesn't matter anyway. 19 hours of practice, who cares? Shows up the week before week 1, and he plays on the franchise tag. That's probably what's going to happen.
Right. The first step of the whole process, if anybody wants to believe he could or will be traded, Cincinnati has to want to do it.
Yeah.
And according to Jeremy Fowler, they've given no indication that that's what they're going to do. They're going to go a little hard line on him and go, well, you know, when we're supposed to start camp, we'll be like, what the hell is the motel that leaves a light on for you?
Motel 6.
Motel 6. They'll be Motel 6.
Tom Odette.
We'll leave a light on for you, Jesse. Sure. No, we can't force you to come in any earlier, but the light will be on for you when you show. Yeah. And oh, by the way, it will be on because we're not turning it off and trading you. So for those out there, Eagle fans, that are hoping against hope that the one place that the Eagles did not significantly upgrade, they kind of held their own ground at safety this year. Bates would be that significant upgrade. Not happening. And not because of the Eagles' unwillingness to create the cap space to get him. I just don't. I'm with Fowler. I don't think I've been saying this all along. I don't think the Bengals are trading him.
No, I agree. And I also snicker at the Eagles fans who think you can give all the players you don't want for a 25-year-old second team
Andre Dillard, Jalen Reagor, and a third. We'll get you Jesse Bates.
Or throw in Derek Barnett. We'll get you Jesse Bates for a team that wants draft picks and a 25-year-old second team All-Pro. Yeah, exactly. Doesn't work that way.
No, it does not. He's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. We're your Mac and Mac Birds 365 guys. One of the best who covers the Eagles on a day-in, day-out basis. We'll be sharing grass time with John McMullen shortly within the next couple of days. Zach Berman of The Athletic scheduled to jump aboard with us next here on Birds 365.